Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, this week we've got a story that it starts like a classic neighborhood spat, but then it gets weird.
Oh, way beyond weird. We're talking about a viral Reddit post, about this incredibly serious accusation, a husband who's completely blindsided, and the accuser is, well, let's just say well into his 80s.
Right. So our mission today is basically to unpack this bizarre confrontation fast. Like, what was really going on?
And figure out why everyone online ended up calling this whole mess a happy ending, even though it starts pretty dark.
Okay, so picture this. A couple, she's 62, he's 59, been together 26 years, solid as the rock. High trust level, that's important later.
Yeah, super important. And they're just out for a walk like they normally do, and bam, this 80-something neighbor basically accosts them.
Right in the street. He marches up to the husband, we'll call him Jay, and just demands, flat out, "Are you sleeping with my wife?"
I mean, can you imagine the sheer absurdity of it? They're in their late 50s, early 60s.
And the wife he's talking about is also in her 80s. The original poster, the wife, she said they just burst out laughing at first. Like, this has to be some kind of weird joke, right?
Like, you'd think, like a really bad sitcom plot landed in their front yard. But, oh, the guy wasn't laughing. He was dead serious.
And that's when the laughing stopped. Like, immediately. This wasn't funny anymore. This guy was genuinely distressed.
And he gives a timeline, which makes it even crazier. He claims this supposed affair was happening during the peak COVID lockdown.
Which the wife, the OOP, shuts down instantly. She's a teacher, remember? She says, look, I was teaching remotely from home for over a year, literally stuck in the living room.
Within earshot of Jay the whole time, so logistically impossible.
Completely. Plus, she mentions they have this super strong bond. She has a history, ADHD, OCD, severe anxiety, PTSD, and Jay's been her rock through it all.
She specifically says she has zero red flags about him. Like, she trusts him implicitly. If something was up, she feels she'd know.
So Jay denies it, obviously, calmly, clearly. But the old guy just waves it off.
Yeah, he hits him with the classic, "That's what everyone says when they're confronted." Just refuses to back down.
So what's his proof then? Where's this conviction coming from?
Well, that's the tragic part. The only evidence he had was a confession from his own wife.
The wife
who is in the late stages of Alzheimer's disease.
Oof. Okay. That should have been the end of the confrontation right there, shouldn't it?
You would absolutely think so. But the accuser was just so locked into the idea of betrayal, he couldn't see the obvious medical context.
He was seeing a story, a narrative of betrayal instead of the reality of the disease.
Exactly. It's maybe easier, in a way, to grasp onto a concrete, albeit wrong, story than the terrifying abstractness of cognitive decline. It's awful.
Which then spirals things from just awkward and sad into potentially dangerous territory.
Yeah, it does. Because the guy didn't just accuse Jay, he threatened him.
Okay, let's unpack that bit. The practical side. Because this is where it gets really stressful for the couple. The accuser basically tells Jay, "Stay away from my property or you'll be sorry."
And, you hear that from an elderly guy, maybe you brush it off. But maybe you don't, especially when he seems so agitated and convinced. They immediately worried he might have a firearm.
Absolutely. You have to consider the worst case scenario, even if it seems unlikely. The threat itself changes the game.
So now they're seriously thinking, do we need to call the police, get a restraining order?
Which is just,
come on.
Think about that. Having to potentially drag this confused, grieving, elderly man through the legal system because his wife, suffering from Alzheimer's, had a false memory.
It feels incredibly unfair. And then there's the logistical kicker, the neighborhood layout.
Oh yeah, get this. She describes the street layout as being like a thermometer.
A thermometer? What does that even mean?
Apparently it's like one main street that goes into a cul-de-sac with a big island in the middle of the circle and the accuser's house. It's right on that loop or near it. So for them to do their daily walk, their normal lap around the neighborhood,
they have to walk past his house. There's no easy way around it.
Right. It's either walk past the guy who threatened you or radically change your routine, maybe add tons of time or just like pace in your backyard.
It puts them in this impossible bind. Why should they have to upend their lives and deal with all this stress and potential legal hassle because of something completely fabricated by a disease?
It's like the disease itself is reaching out and messing up their lives too, even though they're not directly affected by it medically.
Exactly. It feels fundamentally wrong. Yeah. The only apparent solution involves treating the poor guy like a threat when he's really another victim here.
But this is where the story takes a turn, thanks to the internet hive mind. They posted this online, asking for advice, and Reddit did its thing.
Yeah, the online community immediately jumped past the accusation itself and diagnosed the source of the accusation. The key insight popping up again and again in the comments was one word: confabulation.
Confabulation. Okay, break that down for us, because that's the pivot point for this whole thing.
Right. So confabulation, especially in the context of dementia like Alzheimer's, it's basically the brain trying to fill in the gaps. Alzheimer's, as one commenter vividly put it, choose Swiss cheese holes in memory.
Wow, okay. Swiss cheese holes.
Yeah. And the brain hates gaps. It can't stand a blank.
Hmm.
So it improvises. It grabs bits and pieces of real memories or emotions or familiar faces, and it weaves them together into a new narrative to patch over the hole.
So it's not lying exactly. It's more like the brain is automatically photoshopping reality to make it make sense, even if the result is totally wrong.
Precisely. The person experiencing confabulation is absolutely convinced their memory is real. They feel the emotions associated with it intensely. So maybe the wife did have an affair decades ago, or maybe she just saw Jay walking by during lunch every day.
Her husband, Jay, does take walks during his lunch break, doing laps around the neighborhood.
Right, so her brain, missing the context, maybe grabs Jay's face, the familiar man walking outside, and slots him into an old memory template of infidelity. Or maybe she just confused him with her own husband from a different time period. The wiring gets crossed.
And the brain loses the ability to say, wait, that doesn't make sense. He's the neighbor. It's lockdown.
Exactly. That critical filter is gone. And the comments section was just full of heartbreaking examples of this.
Yeah, like what?
Oh, people whose parents suddenly remembered going to a summer camp they never attended. Or someone mistaking their granddaughter for their own mother.
Wow.
There was one about a man convinced his wife was cheating with someone who had actually been dead for 10 years. The brain just grabs what's available to fill the void.
That really changes how you see the accuser, doesn't it? He's not just an angry old man. He's reacting to what, for his wife, feels like a totally real, devastating memory. He's a victim of the confabulation, too.
Absolutely. He's caught in the fallout. And this understanding, provided almost instantly by strangers online who lived through similar things, it gave the OOP and Jay a completely different lens. It offered compassion.
And crucially, it stopped them from potentially calling the cops or getting lawyers involved with someone who needed understanding, not legal action.
Right. So armed with this new perspective, this idea of confabulation and grace, the OOP decided to try a different approach. No officials, just caution and maybe conversation.
So the next day, she's out walking again, still being careful, understandably.
Yeah, she mentioned she saw the gentleman in his window, and he tapped on the glass, asked her to wait. He wanted to speak.
Smartly, she backed up into the middle of the street, didn't go onto his property. Good boundary setting.
Very prudent, creates distance but allows for communication.
Yeah.
And then the resolution was incredibly fast.
You didn't argue? Didn't double down?
Nope. He came out and immediately apologized. Straight up.
Wow. What changed his mind?
He actually told her two things. First, her husband Jay's demeanor during the confrontation the day before. Apparently, Jay stayed very calm and seemed genuinely bewildered, not defensive or guilty.
Okay, that makes sense.
And second, crucially, everything he had learned about Alzheimer's in the roughly 12 hours since the incident.
You went and researched it.
It seems so. Or maybe family members explained it. But somehow, in that short time, he got the information he needed. Maybe even the word confabulation, and it clicked.
Yeah.
He realized his wife's confession wasn't reality.
That's huge. That 12 hours of information completely diffused the situation. The rage just evaporated.
Replaced by sadness, you have to assume sadness for his wife's condition. So their conversation then wasn't an argument at all. It lasted about 15 minutes.
And the OOP, drawing on what she'd learned from Reddit, basically offered empathy. She focused on the disease being the villain, not him or his wife. She shared how sorry she was that this confusion might be part of his final memories with his wife.
Yeah, shifting the focus to the shared tragedy of the illness, and that created connection, not conflict. He wasn't an adversary anymore. He was someone else caught in the awful web of this disease.
And the final detail is just lovely. He asked her to apologize to Jay for him.
And as they parted ways, she said he had a really big smile on his face.
From furious accuser to smiling neighbor in less than 24 hours, that really is a happy ending, considering how badly it could have gone.
It truly is. Grace won out over anger thanks to understanding the medical reality.
You know, she even mentioned in an update that some people online called her a Karen for even thinking about a restraining order initially.
Oh, really? How'd you take that?
She just laughed it off. Said she used to teach at a behavioral school. She'd been called way worse. Just totally unfazed. Gotta love that resilience.
That's great. But the core takeaway here, I think, is just how devastating these diseases are, not just for the person suffering, but for everyone around them. Watching someone you love kind of disappear piece by piece while they're still physically there, it's profoundly difficult.
Yeah, the villain wasn't the husband or the wife or even the accuser. It was the Alzheimer's stealing context, peace, and memory.
And finding that compassion, realizing the source of the conflict wasn't malice but illness, that's what allowed for that moment of understanding and, well, grace.
It's a good reminder to maybe pause before jumping to conclusions about someone's weird behavior, right? You never know what invisible battle they might be fighting.
Exactly. Assume compassion first, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so wrapping this up, this whole deep dive leaves me with one final, slightly weird thought for you, our listener, to chew on. It comes from the comments section, naturally.
Uh-oh. Where's this going?
The only thing potentially more terrifying than, losing your mind to dementia
Yeah, okay.
is the possibility that if you do get it, you might end up like one guy in the comments who apparently confessed that he sometimes pretends to be more confused than he is just so he can cheat at dominoes.
Wait, using cognitive decline for strategic advantage in board games, that's next level.
Yeah. Right. Something to mull over. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this deep dive.
We'll catch you on the next one. Maybe practice your confused face, just in case.
Already working on it. See you then.